Dear friends, today we are going to discuss a poem by W.B. Yeats, Easter 1916. So, before going to the poem, I would like to introduce W.B. Yeats, who is widely considered as one of the greatest English poets of the 20th century. W.H. Auden, an admirer of W.B. Yeats, calls him as a great poet who has written many memorable verses in 20th century. Yeats is known as a great playwright also. He has been instrumental in establishing the famous Abbey Theatre with Lady Gregory, and all these activities were in connection with the Irish Cultural Revolution. Yeats was a poet who affirmed his Irish nationality, even though he had lived for a considerable time in England and had English education. He always kept his Irish connection intact. He maintained his cultural roots. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in 1923, and we know he was instrumental in introducing Rabindranath Tagore and his Gitanjali in England and into Western literature. Yeats is known for a great number of noted poems, beginning with the first poem, The Stolen Child, which itself was a remarkable poem. The second coming, Wild Sands at School, Sailing to Byzantium, Easter 1916, A Prayer for My Daughter, Lake Isle of Innisfree are some of his very famous poems. And you can see that he has written very good plays also. So we have seen that he was a very important literary figure of the 20th century, and he was a symbolist poet. And at the beginning of his poetic career, he had a brief stint as symbolist and also as a spiritual. Later on, we can see that his poems are becoming more and more political. So we can say that there is a kind of shift in theme and also in style. So the diction also underwent major changes during his poetic career, and the elusive imagery and symbols of light. All these we can see that even though he didn't abandon all these altogether, he explored more and more options. And even though we should not forget that he had a very long career as a poet, and all throughout this period he remained highly creative, with his poetic output very, very rich. He was, as we have already mentioned, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1920, and he passed away in 1939. And he was buried initially in England. Later, his body was shifted to Ireland at the behest of the son of his lover, Maud Gonne, who was then the Minister for External Affairs in Britain. Okay, now we will go to the poem. Thank you.